The biceps haven't changed, but the shaved head did. So got a
Oh,
new look.
I thought the biceps got bigger, but
Maybe they did, dude.
thanks for making
Maybe
me
I
look
just missed
bad.
them.
Like, thanks for starting off bad. Can I have a host, please? Are we doing any Q&A or you want me to jump right into this, Mikey?
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, I think just give people your background a little bit,
Okay.
on your sales experience, some context of how long you've been in sales, how long you've been in the industry, kind of give you some credibility there.
Okay. So I've been in direct sales for 15 years, all door to door before insurance, which was my first real jaunt into the virtual space. I did about 26 million total in my sales career, personal production. And my teams now have done just north of a billion, which is nothing close to, what Joe's teams have done. But hey, the first B is always the first B. So I know a little bit about sales. I have never had a real job. This is the only thing that I've really done other than play basketball. As Mikey alluded to, if you guys could grab a pen and paper, not necessarily because everything that I say is going to be ground shaking, but I will give you something in the next, 30 to 45 minutes here that will help. It will help you perform at a higher level. It will help you get what you want out of the end of this year, the back half. And I was thinking about this. Mikey gave me a really long heads up that I was going to have this training. It was about 60 minutes, I think, 70 minutes. And I was thinking about it over the last hour. And I asked myself the question, as I try to do coming into a training like this, like, what is the one thing that if I could give everybody on the call, it would be considered a win? Like, this would be a good time for you. And I could feel good about myself that I actually delivered enough value to occupy your screen, your mind, and your ears for 30 to 45 minutes. And the answer, guys, was get what you want out of this year. Because I realized the timeline right now. And I love talking, especially to new groups or groups I haven't spoken to in a while. I love speaking to groups at this point in the year. It's June 1st. We're almost dead way through this year, like almost halfway through 2026, which is wild. And if nobody's heard me present or speak before, I'll ask a bunch of questions over the next 30 to 45 minutes, and we'll all just kind of sit here like weirdos if nobody responds. So these questions are not rhetorical. I'll be looking for responses. If you guys can go ahead to commit to some responses and some notes over the next 45, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And again, we'll just kind of sit here until we get some thumbs up. Okay, cool. We got more people popping on as well. All right, can you guys see the screen okay? Just the black slide?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. So again, we're almost exactly halfway through the year. Did that feel fast, anybody?
Oh yeah.
Flu.
Does anybody remember, like, feels like yesterday? It was January 1st. We had all these big promises to ourselves, to the people that we care about the most, and all these big intentions. Give me a one in the chat if you feel like you've given at the halfway point, we'll just call it the halfway point because we're so darn close. If you feel like you've given half the effort required to get to where you want to go at the end of this year, like if you feel like you're already at least halfway there, as far as the effort side goes, throw a one in the chat and see where we're at. Got to pull the audience here a little bit. And if you don't feel like you've done it, that's okay. Like this train is going to require some honesty. So we got a lot of ones still rolling in. Okay. And then give me a two and continue to give me a one if you haven't yet about the effort. But give me a two if you've developed half the skills that you told yourself you would. Because it's not just about the effort, right? There's only a few things, if you think about it, a few levers we can pull on to impact our result, to impact the end of 2026, how we're going to feel, who we are at that point, how we feel when we look back on our year, if we feel pride, if we feel disappointment, if we feel embarrassment. I think we've all been there at different years. So give me a two if you feel like you've developed half the skills as well. And then finally, give me a three. And again, your other two numbers if you haven't done those yet. But give me a three if you feel like you're halfway to becoming the man or the woman that you told yourself you'd become this year. Halfway there, halfway through the year, the person who you told yourself you'd become, throw a three in there. Kyle B says 333. He might already be there. Good work, Kyle. All right. And then give me a four. And I promise this is the last number I'll ask for. Give me a four if you feel like you've been a little arrogant towards the opportunity so far. Just a little bit. Like maybe you've taken it for granted. Maybe you've been in sales for a while and sales money doesn't really excite you, or sales opportunity doesn't really excite you, or maybe you've only been in it a month or two and you've already started to forget how hard it was to do the thing that you did before this. And this has started to feel hard. I came from door to door. So this happened to me a couple different times where virtual sales, can start feeling hard. But when you actually step back and compare it to what I did before, or likely what you did before, it's not really not hard. But it doesn't matter because our perspective tends to shrink down, right? So who's been a little arrogant towards the opportunity? Pop a four in the chat. Give everybody another second or two. Cool. When you were thinking about your year just now, what story did you tell yourself about it? And this is the first note that I want you to take. You don't necessarily have to answer the question right now, like verbally, or write down the answer, but leave space and whatever you're taking notes on. And guys, one of the most important things I've ever learned in my career is not to take notes on my phone. So maybe you don't have a pen and paper handy, but whether it's this call or hopefully the next call, when you're exposed to the gold that's on these calls, I've been on plenty of these. I've worked with these guys for a long time. I know how supremely talented they are and skilled that they are. You want to have a separate notebook for like the gold that you're pulling from these calls and the other people that you get to work with and the other calls that you're on. And that notebook doesn't exist on your phone. It will impact you more. If you don't listen to a single other thing that I say on this call and you just did that, this call would be worth it. So hopefully you're writing this down. What story did you just tell yourself about 2026? First half. What's the story overall? We got those three questions dialed in. What's the story now that you've told yourself about the first half of the year? Think about that for just a second. And then ask yourself, does that story set you up to finish what you started? The person who sat there, we all had this moment. It was either January 31st, maybe, or December 31st, I should say. Maybe if you're a planner, it was late December. Maybe if you were a kind of a late bloomer, it was January 2nd or January 1st. But you had a moment where you decided what this year was going to look like, or at least where you had some sort of idea. Maybe you didn't get real clear, but I hope that you did. Because without a clear idea of where we're going, the odds of us ending up there are very small. Most of us had some sort of idea. It's one of the most beautiful things about this organization and most good sales organizations, but especially this one. I think that the level of skill, leadership, and content that we're exposed to on a regular basis is as high as I've seen anywhere in my 15-year sales career. And I've consulted for a bunch of companies, owned a few companies, worked at a bunch of companies. I've seen a lot. So we should have very likely, especially if you were in the organization, obviously, at the beginning of this year, you should have probably gotten a pretty good idea of what you wanted and what you wanted this year to look like. So that story that you're telling yourself about the first half of the year, does it set you up to finish what you started? Does it set you up to go into 2027 with that feeling of pride? Like, have you guys ever had that where you ended the year, you look back on the year that you just wrapped up and you're like, holy crap, I did it. Like I did everything I told myself I would do. It didn't all work out exactly the way that I hoped, but holy crap, am I proud of myself. That was an amazing year. I'm an amazing person. Look at all the people that I helped. Look at all the money that I made. Look at all the money that I invested. Look at all the money that I didn't spend. Look at all the fun I had. Look at all the loving that I gave to people in my life. Look at all the smiles I had. Look at all the growth I experienced. In my experience, when talking to a room of over 100 people, there's at least a few people in the crowd who have experienced that at the end of the year. I've also noticed that more often, there's not that many, or maybe not that many that have experienced it recently. So does your story the first half of the year set you up to finish the year the way that you promised it would go, the way that you told yourself? Maybe you didn't tell anybody else, but you had an idea of how this year was going to go. Are you on track? And is the story from the first half going to help? One of my coolest things about thinking through this lens is next year, the version that you are then, the person that you are in 2027, and the life that you have then, it's watching you now, and you can't hide from it. Like you can lie to yourself in the mirror. You can tell yourself the truth. It doesn't really matter because your 2027 will be a direct reflection of the thoughts and actions that you have in 2026. It just will be. It's the evidence. You can't make it up. Like, it's the only unbiased truth that I've discovered that really knows what we're doing because it's a direct reflection of what's happening right now in our days and in our heads. And the quality of that year and the quality of that feeling when you go into 2027, I believe, and I've realized it will be 100% based off the quality of those thoughts and those actions. Throw one in the chat if you agree with that, or please voice another opinion if you don't agree with that. Most of us agree. So this is specifically what I want to talk about. That was just a little intro, but I've pursued excellence since I was really like 10 years old. I don't think I've ever told anybody at Pinnacle this story, but I was very, 2 second story. I was very sick as a kid. I couldn't breathe. Like, some of my earliest memories were watching other kids play and I couldn't play because I was born with like such bad asthma that I was on breathing machines and, had a sad childhood. We've all got our stories. So sick that I couldn't run, couldn't walk too fast. I'd get out of breath and I'd end up on oxygen in the hospital. And I realized that the only way to not be like this anymore was if I got in such good shape that I never got sick. That's what the doctor told me. He said, if you never get sick again, that's the only way you're going to stay out of the hospital. Otherwise, every time you get a cold or a flu, you'll be in the hospital with me. You'll be on these drugs for the rest of your life. You'll be on oxygen, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I started, lifting obsessively and kind of chasing peak performance at a very, very young age, super, super young age. And it took me a long time, probably if I started that at 10, probably about 25, 26 years to realize that the pursuit of peak performance that I had been on for the last 27 years, 26 years, it had all been focused on two things. And that was effort, like working as hard as we can. We talk about that all the time in sales, in this organization, every sales organization. It's always work harder. And I fully support that. I believe I can outwork anybody on the planet and normally do. We talk about that a lot. And then we talk about get better, right? Practice, get those skills up, sales skills, rebuttals, objections, framing. Like, there's so many different sales skills to master, especially if you guys are brand new. Your head's on a swivel, it's spinning around. It's like, holy shit. When I listen to somebody that's really good at this, I don't understand how they do what they do. There's so many things to learn. It's all these skills. And those are the only two pillars of excellence that I built for the first 26 years of my pursuit of peak performance. Those were the only two I thought existed. Nobody ever talked to me about a third. And every time that I had some really good successes, made millions of dollars in solar, a couple million probably in alarms as well, peak performer as far as, sales guys go and managing teams go in most companies that I'd worked with. And it was good, but oftentimes when I would find the success, it wouldn't last. Has anybody experienced that before? Like, where you've risen to the top of some mountain, not necessarily the world mountain, but it may be in the industry that you're in or in the company that you're in. We've risen to the top and then somehow you don't keep it. Things change. You just, like, the world almost bends not in your favor. Something that you feel out of control of happens, turns up, and you just don't keep climbing. Oftentimes you don't even maintain that level of success. And I couldn't figure it out. And if you guys haven't had this happen yet, if all you're focused on is effort and skills, it will happen. So for those of you that have had it happen, this is a conversation about how to make sure it doesn't happen again. For those of you who have not had it happen, this is a conversation about making sure that it never happens. And we're going to use the frame of getting what we want from the rest of this year as the first step towards that. So again, I found in this pursuit of peak performance that there were really these two lanes that I focused all of my energy on. It's effort and skills. And most of you guys have probably done the same, because this conversation that we're about to have is not something that at least I was exposed to. Nowadays, it's a little bit more popular, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually apply it. So effort and skills, two main pillars. The third one that I've discovered over the last really 2 years of my life and slowly pursued mastery of is identity. So if all you've been thinking about when you think about the first half of the year and then how to get what you want from the second half of the year, maybe you've had some of these thoughts before we even had this conversation, is how can I work harder or how can I get better? There's another thing. There's another thing to think about. And I believe it's the multiplier of your effort and your skills. And that's why the math equation is on the screen as you see it. Effort and skills matter. They massively impact results. This is not a conversation about how they do not. But I have found that in all the top performers that I've interviewed, like the ones that stay on top of the mountain, and in all my best moments, it all has a massive factor in it that I never understood before this conversation, which was identity. Now, I've come to believe that that's the multiplier to the effort that you put in on a day-to-day basis and the skills that you apply with that effort. And if you don't have the identity dialed in, I want you guys to imagine a bucket, and that bucket has holes in it. And the effort and the skill that you pour into that bucket just leaks out of the bucket. And if you've ever experienced, especially God knows in this business, when we're pouring money in, and we're just not seeing results, well, you might have holes in your bucket. And I believe those holes are the identity holes. So what the hell am I talking about? Like, what is identity? I'll give you guys a couple frames on what I'm actually referring to, because identity it's a word that's kind of thrown around these days on IG, and you might have heard somebody talk about it from time to time, but this is why it's such a big impact, in my opinion. Because the mind takes what you decide is true and makes it true. And once you understand that what you say is the truth, the things that you were saying to yourself and out loud, they come from where? Like, they don't come from your effort. They don't come from your skills. They come from your identity. They come from your beliefs about who you are and how you perceive the world. And I believe, again, it's the multiplier to everything. If you think about belief being identity, and if you think about something sneaking up on you that's very, very dangerous, and you turn around and what happens? Like, your body, everything, your physiological reaction is as powerful as it can be, and you sprint away with a shot of adrenaline through your brain, through your body, like you've never experienced before. If the same thing happens the next day, and you believe that that same guy or same thing is behind you that was going to hurt you in the same way, the same thing would happen to you as far as the ability to get away from that thing, even if there was nothing behind you, because of your belief about what was behind you. Your belief stems from your identity, and your identity is the ability to act based on who you are instead of just how you feel. And if you're going to take any note during this entire rant, that would be the one. Identity is the ability to act based on who you are instead of how you feel. And once you understand what the person has, or who the person is that has what you want, we'll use 2026 again for the example. Who is the person at the end of this year, the version of you that had the year that they want to have? How does he think? How does he move? How does he talk? How does he walk? What stories does he tell himself? And how different is that person from the one that you have been so far this year? Where's the gap? And the things that are bothering you right now, the things that you brought to this call with you, would those things, say you're a $2 million man or woman at the end of this year, and that's what you had in mind, whether the numbers are arbitrary, whatever it is, $1 million person, 500,000, you're a $500,000 earner at the end of this year. The things that you brought to this call that are bothering you right now, that were bothering you before this conversation, do those things still bother the version of you that makes 500 grand a year, or $2 million a year, or the $100 million version of you? Whatever it is that you're really pursuing, the things that are bothering you and bogging you down, do they just bog down like the older version of you that doesn't have what you want? Or do they really impact the version of you that has everything that you want? Can you be the you that has what you want? That one is also one that I would write down. Can you be the you that has what you want? That to me is what identity is about. Because if you can't be the you that has what you want, what are the odds that you ever have what you want? You're not just going to transition into that person once your skills and your effort get you those results, because you're still the old person. And the old person will bring the actual results back down to the old person's status, the old person's baseline. And I've experienced that where my skills, which were pretty good, and my effort, which was really freaking high, would just demand and will my way into some pretty good success. But it didn't change who I was because I wasn't working on the third pillar. So I poured those skills and that effort into this bucket full of holes, and they just dripped out. And I don't want that to happen to you guys. So the version of you that has the year that you want, what does he do right now? You don't have to wait to start asking yourself these questions. What does he do right now? Is he listening? Is she asking questions from somebody talking about something like this if it resonates with her before this call ends? Is she taking notes? What is she doing before she gets up from the table with this page full of notes that she starts to believe could actually help her get what she wants? What does she do with them? Not what do you do with them, not what does the person who came to the call do with them, but the version of you that makes $1 million this year, that hires 25 people and changes 25 lives. What does she do when she's exposed to information that could help her? Not just this, but any information. What does she do? Does she take notes? Does she ask questions? Does he or she, after this call, maybe you've heard stuff like this before, and this is just the mountain that you had to listen to, essentially, a mountain of data that you had to listen to start to believe it. But does he or she believe that your identity has the power to multiply your effort and skills? Again, if nothing else, if that's all you take from this call, that could be helpful. Does that resonate? And if it does, what does he or she do with it? So a question that I started to ask myself is, can I stack the evidence required to be this person that has everything I want through words and deeds? Because if you think about it, when I started playing with something like this, it started to be challenging to change, just like it always is. But I realized that if I started to act like this person and started to tell myself that I was this person, well, guess what would happen? Eventually, you just become that guy. And when you become that guy, what does that guy have? Well, by default, because that guy has everything that you want, he's going to have everything that you want. So can you stack evidence and believe along the way until belief is just a practice and you don't even need the proof but you have stacks of it just in case you need it? To me, that's what identity is. So as I wrap this up over the next 10, 15 minutes, that's what the hell I'm talking about. When I say identity, that's my third pillar that I'll submit to you guys for consideration on this call. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Got a yes. All right.
It's deep, but it's powerful, dude.
This stuff impacted my world in a way that nothing really has in the last 5 years. Truly, truly impacted my world. Not just my success, but my lens that I perceive the world and my enjoyment of the world that I
I
have.
think people are a little quiet because they're doing a lot of reflecting. I know I was myself, I think it calls you out as you're talking on it. This is good. This is powerful.
Well, you told me to come up with something, Mikey, so here we go.
Hey,
Yeah, it's really good, Owen.
All right. So that's identity to me. But how do we actually move it? I think for those of you, especially that present to your teams, I believe great conversations like this are composed of defining the what, explaining the why, which we just did, like why does this matter? Now we're going to talk about the how. So again, that would be helpful if you take nothing else. What, why, how? We talked about what the hell I'm talking about. We talked about why it matters. This is how we actually move it. How do we utilize this thing to actually work for us? You guys have probably heard that the brain is a question answering machine. Like that's what it does. It's designed to answer questions. So I've got some for you guys. And I'm not looking for answers and I'm not looking for you to answer these on the call. These are something that you write down. And if any of this resonates with you, you do a little work later because, again, the person that has what you want, when they see something that can help them get what they want, they probably do a little work on it. So here's the questions. For the rest of the year, what is the one thing that if I get it this year is going to make this year the best year of my life? What's the one thing? Scrap everything else. What's the one thing? We've got 7 months to go, exactly 7 months. What is the one thing that if I got it would make this year the best year of my life? There's plenty of time for that to happen. One of the beautiful things about this space and sales in general is like when we start selling, and those of you who've gone on big sales runs, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. It only takes like 2 or 3 weeks on a big sales run to start feeling like this is the best year of my life. God forbid you do it for 6 months. This will be the best year of your life. Like you have plenty of time. So what's the one thing? And then the deletion. What action held me back so far this year? Like what's the one thing I'm doing that's held me back so far, almost halfway through the year? What's the one thing? Is that one thing more important than the thing that I want, than my win, than feeling proud when you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the year? That one thing that I'm doing. It could be anything. Getting up late, Netflix, drinking too much, not investing enough in leads. It could be anything. What's the one thing? There's probably a bunch of them. I know I got a bunch. But shoot, if I could identify one thing and eliminate it, and it's the biggest one, well, it gives me better odds. What about the person? What's the one person that's held me back? Who's the one person that's held me back so far this year? What about the thought? What's the thought? Everybody's heard we're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. What about the average of the 5 thoughts that we have the most? Like thoughts literally shape our reality. So, what is the one thought that I've had the most that's holding me back? And then what is my plan to eliminate those things? And that's a lot. Even if you only eliminate one or two of those, you're probably going to be in a lot better position than you were keeping the rest of them for the rest of the year. And then the action. What is the one action that I'm currently doing that gives me the best shot at getting my one thing? Because we're doing a lot of good stuff. This isn't all bad, right? We're doing a lot of great stuff, but it helps to identify like, holy crap, okay, I do this, this, and this. And this first one, if I just do triple as much of this, I'm almost guaranteed to get the one thing that matters to me. So what is the one action that I'm currently doing that gives me the best shot at getting my thing? And then what is the one action that if added gives me the best shot at the one thing? And none of this really hits surface level, at least for me, unless I understand it. So if you're doing this work, the questions to understand it are simple. It's why do I want that one thing, that thing that I want the most for the rest of the year? Why do I want it? Why does it matter? And then who is hurt if I fail? It's not just me. For me, it's my family. For me, it's the guys and the girls that I lead. There's quite a few people hurt if I fail. Who would be impacted if I get it? And then what does it feel like when I get it? I think most of us probably practice some form, hopefully, of meditation, visualization. There's probably been a lot of trainings on here about that stuff. One of the key elements that I was missing to that, the first 6, 7 years I started to do it, was I would meditate, I would visualize what I wanted, and I never knew to feel gratitude for that thing because our brains can't really tell the difference very well when we are feeling the thing that we want and feeling gratitude for it. It feels like we already have it. And we move towards the familiar. So if we already have something and we're grateful for it, are we more likely to get it? If we know exactly how we want to feel at the end of the year, if we know exactly the car we want to buy or the house we want to buy, or the amount of people that we want to hire and see impacted, and then we can actually feel what that feels like, well, that's pretty familiar. So we're going to move towards it. And then all those things kind of put up in a nice little ball. Who is the person that has those things? And then what am I putting in place to bring this to top of mind daily before I get up from this call? because even when the information is great on these calls, we ignore most of it. We're like, oh man, that was great. It's really just like educational entertainment unless we're taking notes. And then even if we're taking notes, there's not much more to it unless we're doing something with it. There's some sort of plan, some sort of strategy, some sort of reminder to make sure that it's actually going to help us sculpt our life. Otherwise, we're just getting on the call because, well, Mikey told us to get on the call and Mikey knows what he's talking about. All right. 3 minutes on why our goals have failed before. We tried to hit them as the same person that missed them. This blew my mind when I thought about it. It's okay, I keep missing because I'm the same person that misses goals and has missed goals before. So, why would this same person start hitting them? Like at some point, you stop passing the ball to the guy that misses the shot at the end of the game every time at the end of the game. You just don't give him the ball anymore. Like you find a new person to pass to. Well, we can find a new person to pass to. If you haven't hit your goals very often, that's okay. There's a version of you that does. The first 30 minutes of this call was to identify who that version is. You got to cozy up to him. You got to pass the ball to her. Like that's the version that hits these targets. You just have to leave the other one behind. And this is the how. This is what we're talking about. It helps to understand that those failures that we've had before, whether it be this year or previous years, like those were designed for us to force evolution towards this person that has the things that we want. So back to the questions to continue to hopefully write down. Our brain is a question answering machine. So why did I hit all my targets this year? Or if you guys call them goals, why did I hit all my goals this year? What if you wrote that question down every morning and answered it? Would that start to solve the how? Like, would that help you understand what to do with your time? Because as a business owner, which we all are, sometimes that's the biggest challenge. It's like, what the hell am I supposed to do today? There's so many things going on. What should I actually focus on? Well, why did I hit all my targets this year? Why am I a millionaire? Why am I worth $10 million? And your brain will start to reverse engineer the how, and it will solve it for you. And then you can just act in the now. And then last question. I want you guys to think of the person that you want to impact the most, because a lot of people are family people on this call. Even if you're not a husband, not a wife, don't have any kids, you have somebody that you want to impact. That we know about finding a why. Like this is what we do for a living. We're tremendous at finding the motivating factor, whether it be with a client or somebody that we're hiring, and helping paint a vision that we are the person to help them get that thing that they want. Well, do yourself the same favor. Think of the person you want to impact the most. And then at the beginning of each day, write it on paper. Ask, if I had to show that person, for me, it's my son, if I had to show Maximus my day yesterday, like if I had to explain all my thoughts and actions yesterday, would I be proud of every moment? It's a simple question that you ask at the beginning of each day or at the end of each day. Would I be proud of every moment if I had to show my wife or I had to show my husband or had to show my son or daughter or grandmother, mother, whoever you care about the most, whoever you're quote unquote doing this for, because we all have that person. Like, would I be proud of what I did today or what I did yesterday? And if not, why? And then the adjustments become very, very clear. So I want to run you guys through something that I do on a regular basis. And yeah, we'll probably continue to go deep. So take a deep breath if you need a second. I want you to let this resonate with you. You don't have to close your eyes. That'd be a little weird on a Zoom call, but I just want you to let this resonate with you and kind of open your mind to this. Okay. So I want you to think of it like this. The thing that you want, you already have it. Whatever that thing is, I want you to think of it. You already have it. You are grateful for it. The deletion items, the things that held you back, are of the past. That's what the old you did. The beginning of this year, that person served you and served you well, but the things that that person did that held you back, they're a thing of the past. They were necessary for you to get here, but they're no longer you. You're not working on them. They're no longer you. When they come up, that's okay because they serve the old you. At the end of 2026, that you has all that you want for him, all that you want for her. So you say goodbye to this person that you've been for the first half of the year. You thank him, you thank her, and you occupy the you that has the year that you want to have. And these things that I'm talking about, this is probably the most unreasonable training that I've ever given. But I'll submit to you guys is what you want, considering where you came from, considering the limitations and the struggles and the challenges you've had in your life, is what you want unreasonable? Are your goals unreasonable? Are they bigger than anything you've ever done? Maybe anything your family's ever done? Are they unreasonable? So is it reasonable to believe that you would have to be unreasonable to get unreasonable goals, to have an unreasonable life? This struck me when I realized it. Like, I have to be unreasonable. That is the only way that I end up with the things that I know I'm going to end up with, is being unreasonable along the way. Because the things that I want are not reasonable. They are 100 times bigger than anything my family has ever had in the history of my family. And I feel like we all fall into this bucket. Once you realize that, you have to be ruthless in this new identity because they are the only one that has what you want. So I'll wrap with this: effort, skills, identity. These are the three pillars. If you didn't think about identity, if you didn't train identity, and you maybe start now, this training would be helpful. So know these three lanes exist. Remember this training, because the version that has what you want, like, they remember this training. They don't just give big effort anymore. They don't just work on their sales skills anymore. They actively become the you that has what you want. So they end up, of course, with exactly what you deserve. So we're halfway through the year, guys. If they let me back on at year's end, I'll have one more question for you guys, which is, did you become the person that has what you want this year? And I'm counting on you guys to give me a whole shit ton of yeses. I won't ask for numbers then. That'll be the end of the year. So appreciate you guys. That's all I got.
Oh, that was fantastic, dude. And yes, you can come on at the end of the year. This is rare, but I have nothing to add that would make any of that better. So I'm gonna let you have your mic drop moment. Would love to have you back on in December. That was one of the best trainings that I've heard from any consultant or sales trainer in a long time. So thank you very, very much for pouring into us.
Appreciate the opportunity as always, Joe. Happy to come back on anytime.
Love you, brother. Let's keep rocking. You guys, let's have an amazing week.
See you
Use
guys.
what you just heard. Use it. See you guys.
Put the man on the spot and he delivered.
You
Let's
delivered.
go.
Later, y'all.